Hello and welcome to another episode of Wave Work Stress Goodbye with me, your host, Luke Richardson. This episode is having a healthy and happy marriage in despite of work stress. Now, I'm back to doing a solo podcast recording this week. Last week I did a recording with Mr. Peter Field on work stress and the 3 principles. So if you missed it, don't worry, you can go back into the collection of recordings I've got in my podcast and check it out in there. It was posted last week, so that would have been around last Sunday, the 23rd of November, something like that. It might have been on the Monday, even the 24th of November, but it's the last episode before this one. So if you missed it, would prefer listening to a conversation between two people, then I truly recommend you go back and check that out. Now, as I say, this episode is about having a healthy and happy marriage in despite of work stress. Now, I've been married for over 9 years, nearly 10. It'll be 10 next July, and I absolutely love being married. And I know that sounds really cheesy to say, but I really do. And it's only been the last year or two or so, as I've got deeper into this understanding that I'm trying to teach you guys, that I've really understood what marriage is really all about. So I'll give you a bit of the story about me and my married life. So I met my wife in early 2012. We moved into our first shared accommodation, or shared flat, or shared apartment, if you want to call it that, in the summer of 2013. I proposed to her in our kitchen in the summer of 2014, so the year after. I think she was about 23, 22 maybe. Now I was about 24, so we were really quite young back then, considering how nowadays people get engaged and married a lot older. And so we were engaged for a couple of years. We bought our first house in late 2014 and lived there for, I'd say, 4 or 5 years in a little village in the north of a place called Chesterfield in England. And about 2 years into living there, in the summer of 2016, we got married, and we had a beautiful traditional English wedding at we had a church wedding, and we had the reception, if you want to call it that, at a place called Willowbrook Hall in Sheffield. So my wife's parents and her grandparents got married in a particular church in Sheffield, a beautiful church. I'm not saying that because I got married there. It really is a beautiful church, and she really wanted to get married there as well because her parents and grandparents did. So that's why we decided to get married. And as I say, we got married at the church. We had a lovely wedding reception at Willowbrook Hall in Sheffield, and our honeymoon was in New York City. We were both not particularly the typical honeymoon couple where, you know, a lot of people go to the Bahamas or the Maldives and just like to chill out after the wedding stress. We find that a little bit too boring. We decided to go to New York and explore the city, and what a honeymoon it was as well. I mean, we went in the heart of the summer, which I don't particularly recommend. It was baking hot, and I remember being on the subway and having sweat just dripping off my arms. It was as if someone threw a bucket of water on me. It was that hot. So, and we only went for a week, so there wasn't really much time to do everything there. So I really don't recommend going to New York in the heart of the summer. I recommend probably going in the spring or autumn if you ever want to go. Anyway, back to marriage. So we got married, and in 2016, and as I say, we will have been married 10 years in 2026 next year. While being in our first house, we had our first daughter called Mia, and she's 7.5 now, and she's 7.5 going on 17. she's very, she's very wise for her young years, and she's the child that reminds me of me the most. She's very excited about Christmas coming up. She really believes in the magic still, and she's just a very happy, healthy kid. It reminds me of me a lot, and we ended up buying our second house, which was more in the south of Chesterfield, in 2019, just before the COVID lockdown, and in 2020 we had our second child, Libby, who is nearly 5, and she was born in the back end of 2020. So we found out we found out we were expecting her just before the COVID lockdown in 2020. So we probably found out in the February, March time, and she came in the October of that year. So she was a lockdown child, a lockdown birth, and it scares me to think that if we'd have waited another few weeks to try to have her, we probably wouldn't have had her because COVID might have scared us off. And thankfully we caught her just before the whole chaos started, and we not looked back. She's again another bright 5-year-old who's absolutely thriving, and we love them both to pieces. Anyway, as I say, we've been married for 10 years next year, and as I said before, I absolutely love being married, and it's only been the last couple of years where I've really truly understood what marriage is all about. It's when you get for the older listeners, you probably can relate to it a lot more. When you get older, I'm 37 now. When you get deeper into your 30s, you start to really appreciate those things. Really appreciate the position you're in, your marriage, where you are in life, your other half. You start to see them differently. You start to see them with more compassion, with a lot more gratefulness towards them, and start to enjoy them. And that moves on to how you can have a happy and healthy marriage despite work stress. Now, despite all what I've said, it's not been an easy time for both of us in our 10-year marriage. I'm not trying to create some pity here and some empathy, because a lot of couples go through challenges way more extreme than me and Charlotte have gone through. And I've had, in that 10-year period, I've had extremely stressful jobs, and I went into those jobs because I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought if I could get into the really, really high corporate jobs and earn the most money, then I'm doing the best I can for my family and providing for them like I wasn't before. Can you relate to that? Have you fallen into the trap of, going deep into work, thinking you're doing the right thing, and it's not really fulfilled you, and if anything, it's caused a lot of friction between you and your spouse, your husband or your wife, and it's caused a lot of arguments between you both. And I can honestly say that's what happened with me. I had a really stressful project management position, which I did for 7.5 years. And a lot of that time was at home due to lockdown. And I was really stressed. Oh, I thought I was stressed. I was having lots of challenges, and sometimes I would have to start an hour earlier than I should have done. Sometimes I would have started an hour after that I should have done, maybe even more on some days. I remember the latest time I ever worked was, I think I started at my usual time in the morning, and it was a Friday, and we had a big thing happening. I won't bore you with what I used to do, but we had a lot going on, and it was pivotal that we got everything ready for that coming weekend. And I think I worked all the way till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, which, looking back, I kind of wore the badge of honour with that. I came out after my shift, looked at Sean and puffed my chest out saying, look at me, look at what I've done today. And looking back, what was I thinking? Not that I should have said do one to my employer, but I probably should have more graceful, disrespectful, said I'm not working till 7:30 at night on a Friday night when I've got a family. And I think I remember particularly on that night, Libby, my youngest, wasn't very well. She was being sick, and and my wife could have done with my help. And I was saying to her, look, I have to work. And yeah, it was it caused a lot of friction and arguments between me and Charlotte. And when I'd finished those shifts, it would be difficult for me to let them go mentally. And my wife would be saying to me, hello, are you with me? That kind of thing. And I'd be with the fairies, I'd be with the clouds. I was with her in the kitchen having a conversation, but I may as well have been sat back at my desk at work. Let's put it that way. And why was that? Interestingly, why was I sat with the fairies when I could have been having a wonderful conversation with my wife when she really needed me in that moment. It's bad enough that I was away for 12 hours plus working for a company, whereas, if I'm stood with her having a conversation, I'm not with her, how's that really going to make her feel? And, the thing is, the question I just asked, why was that? Why was I with the fairies and not more present with Charlotte? Well, I've said this on previous recordings, and if you're interested in hearing more on Instagram, check out my Instagram profile. I'll put it in my comments section on this recording. But we live in a world of thought, we live in a world of thinking, and life flows through us. It doesn't flow at us. So when I was working all those hours, I probably didn't need to work all those hours. I probably only thought I needed to work those hours because my thinking was seducing me into thinking so that I had to do them. And the same after and before work. I probably didn't need to think of work the first moment of when I woke up in the morning, and those moments when I finished in the evenings. If I recognised the role of thought and how compelling the illusion was, then I could have just ignored that and just focused on giving my wife the relationship she deserves. And you have to look at it from the other person's point of view as well. My wife was very visibly, upset that I wasn't giving her the attention that she needed to fulfill her emotionally, after a shift. And that's with knowing what the role of thought does to us as people. I have to give her empathy for that, because she was in her own illusion as well, wondering why I wasn't being as attentive as I should have been. And that's not her fault, because she's entertained the thoughts that she has going on in the moment. And not that I was creating that for her, but I was certainly amplifying that for her. I was giving her the excuse to create something and to hang on to it. And it caused, we didn't have blazing rows like some couples do, but it definitely caused friction and some instability in our relationship. And, hats off to her. She really, truly understands what marriage is all about, probably more than I do or ever would. And she stuck by me and still with me now, and probably, and I hope she loves me more than she ever has done. And I love her back as well, just the same way. And I'm going to get quite emotional now saying this. I didn't think I would do, but, I really do love and appreciate her. And as I say, it's only the last 2 or 3 years that I've come to really truly understand what marriage is all about. And if I could marry her again, I would do, but we don't really want to renew our vows. We're quite happy to have the memory of what we had back in 2016. And let's move on to you. Enough about me. I've talked about, my personal life and my own marriage, and how and I want to now explain to you how if you have a similar story or a worse story than me, maybe you're on the brink of divorce and you want to save your relationship with your husband or your wife. Well, if that's you, if you're having challenges in a relationship because of work stress, work depression, anxiety, the next 5-10 minutes of this audio recording is for you. So I want you to listen deeply. Now, if you're like me, if you're in a stressful job, if you're maybe on tap with your workplace, if you're constantly feel like you have to neglect your spouse because you have to work, and maybe you do, maybe your spouse understands that you have a job where you have a big responsibility and you need to be available for them a lot more regularly than a normal job. Maybe your spouse understands it, but maybe it's gone a bit too far. Maybe you're doing it too much. Maybe you become a bit too obsessed with your job, and your spouse is losing patience with you. And if that's the case and your marriage is on the rocks, then this understanding that I'm going to explain to you in the next 5 minutes or so is gold for you, because it gives you hope, and it gives you hope for you, and it gives you hope for your spouse, and it gives you hope for both of you to have a happy and healthy marriage, despite the challenges at work and despite the challenges in life. And that's wonderful, because let's be honest, a lot of relationships do crumble because of this and because of money. And you just need to understand how life truly works, because it's not something out there that creates it, it's what we create internally inside. And it happens so fast, like a magic trick, that we miss it. And before we know it, because of that, because we've missed it, we've misunderstood it, then we blame it on our outside circumstances. So you might go to work, have a really stressful day, maybe be there for the best part of almost 12 hours, come back, and you want to vent, and you want to vent it to the person closest to you, and you vent and you vent and you vent, and maybe the other person's really supportive, your spouse, about it. Maybe they're quite empathetic towards you, or maybe they're like, this is the last straw. You've been out so many hours, I've been at home doing X, Y, Z while you've been out working. This isn't working for me. And it's going towards those conversations. And that can be the pathway to, a destructive relationship, a marriage that's about to end. And if you can both understand at a deeper level that all that's happening is an illusion that's playing out in your mind, then it's easy to let that illusion slide past you, and there's space then for love and joy that you have for one another to come through. The love and joy that you had when you first met, the love and joy that you had when you got married, the love and joy that you had when you had your children, the love and joy that you had before you had your stressful job. It's still there, and it always will be there. It just gets masked by a lot of crap. Let's be honest, basically that has been plastered over the love and the negativity plastered over love and joy. That never goes away, because love and joy is the default of who we really are. And if you could both see that, then that opens up the door for you to have a healthy and happy marriage, because you then start to enjoy one another again, irrespective of the work stress, irrespective of the frosty conversation you've had. Maybe you come home from a stressful shift at work and your husband has left the house in a mess. That's normally me. And the kids have made a mess in the house and your wife's really annoyed by it, and maybe you come home to that and you don't, because you know this understanding that I'm trying to teach you. It doesn't bother you anymore. You let your day of work slide. You let the mess slide. You let the faults of your spouse slide, and your children slide, and all you see is love, which is what you want, and you start to have a happy marriage. And maybe if you're the person that's waiting for your husband or wife to come home from work, if you can let the thinking drop and have empathy for them when they walk through the door, you're going to enjoy them more, despite your annoyance at them going out to work all day and leaving you all day with the kids and leaving you all day with the cooking and the cleaning. You're going to enjoy them a hell of a lot more, and you're going to have a healthy and happy relationship with them. If we understood more and more how the role of thought and role of thinking, how massive that plays in our day-to-day life, we will be much happier and healthy people, and in the world of marriage, we can have stronger marriages that last the test of time. And if you want to learn more deeply how you can have a marriage that is more stronger, more resilient, have more togetherness, more empathy for each other, more compassion for each other, despite challenges in life and work and stress and depression and anxiety, send me a message. Let me know what you think of this recording. I'd love to hear from you. More recordings to come. And if you want, you can. If you want to hear more recordings, more little mini snippets, check out my Instagram profile. Lots of material in there. And if this recording's really resonated with you, and you want me to offer some one-to-one coaching with you, let me know. Also, I'm thinking of maybe doing some sort of relationship handbook, like a free PDF that might help couples who have stressful jobs come together and have peace with each other and have stronger, happy, healthier marriages. And maybe a PDF recording might be very beneficial to you. I'll do it for absolutely free. There'll be no charge for you if that's what you want. Let me know if that's what you want, and I'll create that for you. And as I say, I'd love to hear from you and what you think of these recordings. Take care, guys. On to the next recording. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.